What's going on, my friends? I hope that you are well. Wanted to get on and had something on my mind to talk about, and I think I've touched on little bits of it from time to time, but it's just some things that you might want to think about with your music and going forward, how you're going to approach people. I guess it's some people that do music, they just don't like to sell themselves. They don't like to be put in a position where they have to sell something. And I understand. People have kind of a phobia of dealing with people, or they're introverts, and that's okay. I've said it once before, and it's so true that at the end of the day, your music is your voice. All you have to do is present yourself with the right email. Short, quick, and to the point. Let your music do the talking for you. You don't need to go into a lot of detail about what bands you played for or anything like that. You don't even have to go into what shows you've been on, unless they ask you. If they ask you, that's fine. But think about it, when you build a relationship with these libraries, that will come later. And a lot is if you go to these conferences or if you meet them in person, start talking to them, you'll have a conversation. They may talk to you about what you've done or other music you have or what other libraries you're with. But from the beginning, for the most part, it's not even relevant. They don't care if you work another job. None of that matters. Have another business. You got a lot of composers that do that, do extremely well, and do other things. I've said that before. But what you've got to think about is that you're going to have to put yourself in a position of, if you're going to progress in the licensing business, I'll tell you some things that have helped me. Now, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm not the be-all, end-all. I don't claim to be. But I will tell you what's helped me. This is very important. It's the only reason why I'm passing it on. Because we're all in this together, and you would want to know. YouTube has been a big help. I'll tell you that. But you have to be very careful with some of the information you get on YouTube. You're probably thinking of, well, this guy, what about him? You're telling me this. Should I be careful about you? Well, I'm just telling you what's helped me. And, there are some people getting bad information. I don't know if there's a lot. I can't verbatim tell you anybody specifically, and that's not the whole point of this video. But I will tell you that learning from other composers and going to these conferences are the two best things that have helped my career. You learn from each other more than you will a textbook in any way. That doesn't mean you don't need to learn about things about this business. You've got to really read all the books you can. Just because I didn't refer it doesn't mean you shouldn't read it, or I didn't recommend it. I showed some books, and if you have any questions whatsoever of like some things, links or resources of any such, just let me know. I'll put them in the comments below. It's okay. But from other composers, these conferences, meeting these people. And I'll tell you, the first conference I went to in 2016, I was nervous as can be. I didn't know what to expect, I had all these guys say, well, he's a music supervisor for all the ad agencies, and they're huge in this industry, building these people up. And this guy's with Universal, and these are music supervisors who have supervised the biggest films in the industry, and they have connections to the biggest people with all the music. It's like, these people hold the key, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, those people are human like you and I promise you, because I see these people. The majority, or a lot of these people, you're going to see every year if you go to the conference every year. You're going to see them. You're going to meet them. Some will remember you. If you remember them, they actually appreciate, hey, I talked to you last year. You know their name. It was great seeing you. Good to see you again. If you can strike that conversation once you get to know them, it's not such a phobia anymore. You're going to find yourself over coffee, and they have little cocktail hours. You're going to find yourself talking to these people like it's somebody you've met in a bar or somewhere else, a sporting event, or just people in general. You're going to find that they are human just like you and I. They have their lives. You don't know what they do beyond music supervision or the music business. You'd be very surprised that, at the end of the day, your music matters the most. Another thing I mentioned before, and I don't mean to run this in the ground, but artists trying to boast, I do everything in all genres of music. That's it. Don't ever do that. Don't do that to anybody in the music industry, and I'll tell you why. They hear that all the time. You may be able to, and that's good. Save that for later. And I mean save that for later is you tell them what you're the best at and send them that music. Don't ever be one of those guys that never does what they say they're going to do. In anything in life, always do what you say you're going to do. But in the music business, I've seen, is something you've got to do. If you tell them you're going to send some music to them, send some music to them. You can say, I want to this year at some point, but don't say, I'm definitely sending you some music, because you don't know if they're waiting on it. Chances are a lot of stuff aren't. But I've always known if you meet them at a conference, get that music to them as quickly as possible, like the day of. So they remember they talked to you. 3 months down the road, they might not. These people, they meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of people. And you might get ghosted. I mean, if you do, don't worry about it. Who cares? Trust me, I'm going through a situation right now where I've had a head of a library say, send me some music. Huge library. Big. In fact, is Megatrax. I'll tell you. Company's Megatrax. When you're sitting at the table with him at the conference, he says, send me some music. You send some music. I had 30 tracks ready to go, playlist, and I emailed him right when I got up from that table. I didn't hear anything for a few weeks. And I emailed him just to say, hey, did you get the email? Just great to meet you at the conference. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. A few weeks later goes by, I get an email from him. He loves the tracks. He's going to talk to the team about getting them signed. That's been 3 months ago. So I don't know, what's going on. You can always get word has it, this and that, but, at some point you've got to make a decision whether you're going to take those tracks and just proceed forward, and I'm going to have to make that decision. We all get ghosted. Listen, the best composers in the world have been rejected, or composers. They have. Probably still do. Don't think that they don't. Something doesn't get rejected from them too. It does. No one is perfect in this business. But my point is that these people are human. We just sit there chit-chatting, having a round table with him, I mean, he's just one of them out there, and I think that day something else was on his mind. It didn't seem like he wanted to be there. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. I don't know, Who knows with that guy. But be it that it may, they're human, and you should never be afraid of that. Don't be. Just talk to these guys as if they're your neighbor or somebody in passing, as if you don't know what they do for a living, At these conferences, you're going to see their name and you're going to see who they're from. I made really good, it was a really good, I guess, I don't know, a good rapport with a lady that was head of the custom music at APM Music. She's since retired, so I don't have that contact anymore. But I think I was about on the throes of getting her to get me on that team to write custom music for them. I sent her some music, but I don't know, It's just this industry. I'm not big on begging people. Never beg. Never bug anybody or piss them off. That's 3 in that. Don't just send a barrage of emails. I think if you get in a situation where you don't hear from them once a month, just follow up with it. Just checking in with you. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. That is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But, sometime you're going to have to pull off and cut loose. But just don't be afraid. Talk to these people. But the most important thing you do if you go to these conferences is talk to other composers. These guys will tell you who they're writing for. They don't have a problem with that. Most will. Now, just because they're writing for them doesn't mean I've sent it for is a fit for you. But that's for you to talk to people and find out what music they're doing and what music they take and what is a fit. That's for you to go to that library and listen to that music and do your research. It is important that if you approach these libraries, you've done your research and you know what music they're taking, you know what music is in their library, because they may ask you, did you go listen to the music that's in our library? We do all polka music. I'm just throwing that as a hypothetical, being funny. Hey, Polka has been placed in film and TV. Not the most used, but it's a genre. It goes to show you that nothing is off the table in that deal. But just do your research and do that. There's some things you got to do, but don't be afraid. This is a very important thing I want to talk about is if you're going to excel in this business, you've got to learn about types of deals, the things about this business. You need to learn the business. It's different from the record industry. It's a whole different, game. People are like, well, this film and TV thing is, I don't know about that, Well, you don't know about it until you learn about it. And it's not like you're signing a 3-album deal to a record label that wants to give you tour support and all this other crap, and then they want to pull a 360 on you, and like some friends of mine have signed some big record deals that to this day, 25, 30 years later, have not recovered from. They haven't recovered from it. I mean, I say recovered, they just haven't gotten over it. And some of them quit playing music altogether. The record industry is so nasty. The TV and film licensing industry is much different. Now, I'm not saying there aren't nasty people out there, or there aren't libraries out to get you. They're not as, it's not as much as it was in the 70s and the 80s when record labels were taking advantage of artists, where they were just signing up all these artists and they were tax write-offs. No, it's not like that, But when you find a good library and you get a good relationship with them, 4, be relevant. Write as much music as you can for them. Communicate with them as much as you can without bugging them. Just do what you say you're going to do and write music. Concentrate on that music. But always be learning. These are the things that have helped me. I'm always watching YouTube on music tutorials on how to make genres of music. I think I mentioned that I want to maybe start doing some dramedy music. Yeah, a lot of it's been used, but there's a huge appetite for it in TV. Dramedy, tension, rock, a lot of types of music. It's a big appetite. And it's one of those things, when you get it out there, you don't know what it's going to do. When you're talking to somebody here in the industry, you don't know where that's going to go. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now that the Production Music Conference every year has gotten me several deals and has really furthered my career. Because I walked up to these guys, I knew who they were, I'd submit music to them a year prior, and say, hey, listen, I've got 20 tracks ready to go. I'd sent your guy over at the library. You think maybe you would consider listening to him? He said, listen, I'll get him on that. This was one library I signed with. I'll get him on that, and I'll get back to you here before day's end. I was going into a panel, and he said, hey, done deal. He's sending you the contract in the morning. I had that contract when I was on the way to the conference the next morning in my hand. Stopped. First thing I did was go up to the FedEx office, copy office at the hotel, got the copies of everything printed out, signed everything, got it right back over. I didn't waste a second on that. All because of that conference. I had FaceTime sitting there talking to the owner of that library. And you just can't be afraid of people. You got to do it. It's important. Learn everything you can about this business. There are some really good materials out there. I've referred, talked about a few books, but there's some others. And I talked about some YouTube channels to follow. Follow those channels. Believe it or not, whether you like it or not, they're the only company that's reputable if you're going to pay per submission, and that's Taxi. Because what I thought, and I was listening to an interview for another channel with Michael Lasco of Taxi the other day. They put out a few weeks ago, in fact. He said the whole reason why he charges $5 a submission, it's a deterrent. Not a deterrent in a bad way. It's one of those things that if you take your music seriously, you're going to pay that money to submit that music, you're going to do it right. Because people would just be throwing anything and everything, like throwing spaghetti at the wall to this guy, and they wouldn't be able to keep up with it, and God only knows how much of a mess it would be. and he pays these screeners good money to go through and screen music for these libraries. But they also vet these libraries. They don't take any library that's taking any music either. They really don't. I'm telling you. You listen to these guys. They've been around 30 years. So, but I was watching that and him saying that. It's just one of those things that my point was about Taxi a second ago was follow that channel, that YouTube channel, Taxi TV. Michael really has a really love for educating composers and wants you to succeed. And no one who is in a scam would spend 2 days a week, about 4 hours a week on YouTube talking about educating you as a composer. Nobody. I mean, he takes it very seriously. They've done well. But you don't have to subscribe to him to do that. That's that. I've referred Dave Croft, great channel, Marlon Gibbons, and there's several other channels I follow, a lot of Facebook groups. But just learn about this stuff. Don't be afraid of people. It's the whole point of why I got on the talk. I didn't want to babble too much, but I know it's not easy, but as I said the other day, there's going to be some things that you don't want to do that's a part of this, but you have to do it in this business to do it. If a site says, hey, you got to enter all this metadata, spend the time and do it. Don't fret, oh, it's a nightmare and it takes too much time and I hate it and blah, blah, blah. You don't know where that's going to take you. If you have to fill out a spreadsheet, just a few pieces of information per track, do it for that publisher. I do that for a publisher now. Each publisher is different. No two are alike. And I have to do different things for different publishers. In fact, I was listening to an album just posted on a publisher I was with over in Poland. He just posted an album I sent him. It's up now. I did some tension music for him. He doesn't like, it's different wants and needs and things they don't like. If it is tension music, somehow, for some reason, he doesn't like choirs and voices in his tension music. That's okay. Give him what he wants. That's what I'm going to do. So that's that, and that's okay. You have to learn this and take notes what each publisher wants, their submission protocol, how they want their stuff submitted. I've got a publisher that just has a whole printout. I just keep it on their file. If I forget about, okay, how do they want their tracks named and numbered? They have them a unique way. And I have to keep that in mind. Sometimes I have to go back. I haven't submitted music to them in a while. Their naming protocol, how they want you to name it and the way they want you to do it. Just learn this stuff. Learn this business. It's really not that hard, not that big. Some people just want to concentrate on music and they shut down and don't want to do anything else. That you're going to have to kind of get out of your shell and you're going to have to do it. You really are. Anyway, I'm going to hop off. All is well with me, and I hope all is well with you guys. But keep a lot of those things in mind. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Be cool. Bye.